Chinese means bad. Don't wrestle me into the lane. You don't want them, you don't need them. Quality, quality, quality. Hammering the quality part. Over the last year, MG sold over 58,000 units. We sold both of our Jeeps and we bought 2 MGs. My name is Dmitry, I'm from Australia. I've been here for over 20 years. I'm an owner and a host of 2 automotive YouTube channels. I was on the market to look for a cheaper vehicle for the family. So during COVID times, I had a Jeep, my wife had a Jeep. They were both over $50,000 in price, and because it was lockdown times and we couldn't go anywhere, I kind of felt like relatively expensive cars were just sitting there in the rain for 2 years, you know. That primarily is what made us consider to sell those cars and consider a slightly cheaper alternative that wouldn't necessarily mean worse. So we've done our research, and that's how I came onto Chinese brands. So as part of that research, we basically ended up choosing MG as a brand for both of our cars. We sold both of our Jeeps and we bought 2 MGs. We bought MG HS, top of the range model, Essence, and we bought MG ZST, top of the range. So we have a whole bunch of Chinese brands that are present on our market. And the leader of them currently in the sales is MG. So MG, over the last year, MG sold over 58,000 units. 58,000 units, which is, if you compare maybe to slightly larger markets, to Chinese market, internal market, that might be nothing. But for Australia, that's a big number. That's a very, very big number. So we also have quite good recognition of Great Wall Motor. So we have a great recognition for GWM brand. And they last year sold 36,000 units as well, which most importantly, MG has grown 17% since in terms of the growth, 17% from 2022 to 2023, while Great Wall Motor grew almost 40%. That's a massive amount of growth. And I think in case of GWM, the greatest benefit to Great Wall Motor was the fact that they are bringing to the market such vehicles as Haval, so under the umbrella of Haval, and now we're also seeing Tank. So I think Tank gets a lot of recognition there. Another big brand that I think is making a splash and is increasing in the sales is LDV, or known as Maxus out there in the world as well. But LDV has sold 21,000 units, and I think a large amount of those probably is attributed to the G10 cargo van, because G10 became a de facto more accessible, more in terms of financially viable van for small businesses. Australia is built on small business. So at the start of this, of my presence kind of on social media, as far as when I started talking about Chinese cars as a private owner, there was straight away kind of an even balance, I would say, of skepticism and interest. So people like me were also looking for slightly cheaper yet nicer vehicles. Like, we all want nice things, but we don't want to pay too much for them. That's generally what happens across the society, I suppose. But there was a lot of skepticism, and there was still, at first, like when I was starting the channel, I noticed I had a lot of big volume of comments where it was like, Chinese means bad, or something like that, like along the lines of means bad quality, means that kind of stuff. So very snobbish, very skeptical. And as the time progressed, and as we look now at sales of Chinese cars on Australian shores, and as I work with my audience and over 2 years, I can see diminishing levels of skepticism and higher levels of acceptance and curiosity. So people may not know, but they are not in denial and they are not in rejection mode kind of thing. So that is very heartening for me to see. How the Chinese cars can enter the market. They are already, as you can see, entering the market and growing, massively growing. I think other companies such as Geely, for example, that is very prominent in, say, Russia and very well recognized. I think that other companies that have not, like GAC, very prominent in Russia also, but not yet on Australian shores. Companies like that should consider Australian market. So I think we're already seeing it, that entry of Chinese cars creates opportunities for Australians to get again into a nicer vehicle, potentially cheaper. So entry of Chinese brands into the market gives us choice. And I think choice is always great. The more, the merrier. And as we can see, we look at the sales data and we see the fact that a lot of these Chinese brands, LDV, MG, Chery, BYD, you know, they are all growing actually. So how else will it impact? It makes the established brands, such as Japanese brands, such as local brands, your Fords, your BMWs, your others, it makes them work harder. And that's a great thing, because it means that they are competing against someone. Healthy competition on the market is always a great thing. Toyota is seen as an absolutely unbeatable king of the market. Toyota sold over 200,000 cars last year, continues selling very strong, continues selling among private owners as well as the business owners. So we're talking about Hilux Utes, we're talking about Prados, we're talking about SUVs, we're talking about all sorts of cars. So Japanese, short answer is Japanese, where Toyota and Mazda are actually leading in Australia quite a lot, followed very closely by the Korean brands. So Korean brands such as Kia and such as Hyundai, they have gained a lot of popularity over some time, and that's a lot of people who I talk to, they are sort of predicting that that's where, with the right kind of vector, that's where Chinese brands would also move to. But I think where a lot of Chinese brands are struggling with is that, first of all, they go against the established perception, established old stigma of the fact that, oh, if it comes from China, it means it's cheaply made and it's possibly a lower quality. Well, that's not always the case. So people are trying to get obviously the most for their money, and to make sure that the car that they're getting is not just going to be a plastic toy that's going to fall apart. I do think that there is an information gap. You would think that's an average Australian consumer right there in the street, like they watch TV, they are on social media platforms, and yet they still haven't heard of something as big as, I don't know, BYD or Chery for that matter. In my opinion, bringing truthful information from owners, from independent reviewers, is something that draws a lot more views and a lot more attention from the public, because people want to hear the good and the bad. People want to hear both. Of course, they want to know that they're buying something nice. Not all of them know about BYD. Not all of them know even of Chery and things like that. That is actually quite surprising for me, to be honest, because I think there is quite a lot of advertising on Australian television, everywhere else, like TikToks, Instagrams, like all the reels are, you know, I think that the companies are investing quite a lot of time and money into some kind of marketing campaigns. You would think that there would be a brand awareness. The challenge always is when you're a newcomer or relative newcomer, when you haven't been on the market for that long, you always are fighting against the established competition. So perception is that the established is better. Perception also is that if a brand is new, say Chery or BYD even for that matter, even though BYDs sell well, rather well, perception is that if the brand is not yet very well established, it means that the dealership network is not very well established. It means that the supply of parts and technical services and specialists who can deal with any issues with your car is very low, comparatively low to, say, Toyota or Ford or anything else for that matter. That's a big problem to overcome, and unfortunately it's only the matter of time. You need to persevere through this. You need to be present on the market with that. I also, subjectively and based on the insights from my channel, I can say that I think while fancy features, electronics, driver monitoring systems, all the other things, while that might help you sell the car because someone sits inside of the car and it talks to him and it's like, oh, how nice is that? But I don't think that that is something that will help with longevity or recognition of the brand on the market, because a lot of these features, ambient lighting, I don't know, GWM Tank 500 is about to come to Australian shores. It has 68 modes of ambient lighting. Who needs ambient lighting? Nobody needs ambient lighting. Or, for example, features that, again, help you sell the car, but no one will use it, such as sunroof. Sunroof is great in Russia. Yeah. In Australia, we're trying to hide from the sun. Sunroof can be added as an optional extra, let's say, and help the manufacturer save money on the creating of the cars, but then maybe give the model to someone who wants to pay extra. But examples are that there are insights, basically, that can help Chinese manufacturers trim down on the underused and gimmicky features They're even seen as gimmicky features. You don't want them, you don't need them. But there are some adjustments that can be made, in my humble opinion, to make sure that the cars are more suited for this market. I think that extra generous software packages and driver assist systems, variety of electronics and other kind of stuff, it creates that positive initial shock value. Wow, look how much I'm getting in this lovely car compared to some other car. But then when you start driving it, when you start seeing just how often poorly tuned it is for our conditions, how invasive it is, that the driver monitoring system constantly talks to you like it's your mother-in-law sitting there at the back telling you how to drive. You know, like once you start looking at those things, this stops being an advantage. It starts being an annoyance, or it starts generating the negative side effect of, I don't know, in my Haval H6, great car, lovely car, good quality. But at the same time, the electronic lane keep assist system, emergency lane keep assist system, kept wrestling me into the lane. Don't wrestle me into the lane. So it's not a competitive advantage if you don't tune it properly. If you tune it properly, fantastic. Of course it is. So I think the companies can be a lot smarter about this.